we speculated on. It's closer than you'd think. Mainly, Miracles, the combination of Counterbalance and Sensei's Divining Top is very difficult for lands to react to. It's going to be Joe's best weapon here.
That book bag behind Joe, you guys can barely see it in the right-hand corner. That's Philip Schoenecker. Just
no pressure. No pressure. Let's talk about the game when you're done.
It's like, Philip's probably just over the shoulder. All right, Joe, I want to learn from you. And Joe's going, I want to learn from you. Magic Gods, if you're listening, if Joe wins this match, can we get a Schoenecker versus Lossett Miracles Mirror? Most of the time, no, people aren't thrilled about a Miracles Mirror, but I want to watch two of the very best at it if we can.
I mean, when you become kind of a specialist on one deck, I can tell you it's really fun when you get to meet someone else who's keyed in on the same deck as you are. And I have to imagine especially when they're overseas, it's a treat to actually be able to play in the same tournament as that person.
Yeah, because I'm sure, they know each other. I mean, Philip does some streaming, and of course Joe is the Miracles player that we think of the most here in the States. And for the Europeans, you think of Philip, it's just, I imagine they maybe met each other at New Jersey last weekend, or maybe here they've had the time to talk to each other and just go, well, why do you... Joe plays his, 5 creatures, and Philip only plays Snapcaster Mages, and it's like, why don't you play more creatures?
When you have the people who are like the flagship of their archetype, a lot of times you'll see a lot of people play the same list when they play an archetype, but the people who are the trendsetters, your Joe Lossetts, your Philip Schoenekers, they know the deck well enough that they actually have very strong opinions on it. You associate Joe with, okay, suddenly I'm main decking Pyroblasts, and whereas Schoeneker's saying, no, I'm going to play Ponders instead. And both of them, because they're not taking someone else's deck, they're trailblazing it. You get these different opinions, and I think that's really interesting because you get to see how do they conceptualize the deck? What do they, why does he think this card is good? Why are they making these differences?
Philip last weekend, 3 Snapcaster Mages, no other creatures. Joe this weekend, 3 Vendilion Clicks and a Venser. You see a Gamble here, also an Exploration. So Jarvis is going through the deck very quickly here. He's in search of something, and he'll be discarding something. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a Life in the Loam, but we'll see.
Well, lands and Miracles, neither deck really renowned for their speed.
Yeah, game 1 just ended. So you're going to speed things up. There goes a Grove of the Burn Willows.
Loam looks like it was gambled for.
Looks like Jarvis also has a copy of Crows and Grip in his hand, so it looks like he's ready for Counterbalance too.
Yeah, he does have copies of that in his sideboard.
There's a top.
Yeah, Jarvis has to watch out for a turn 2 Counterbalance lock that's very strong against him.
Yeah, thankfully for him, he's got the Grip ready. We don't know if Joe will have a 3-mana spell on top of his deck or not, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, as Jarvis is going to sacrifice a Wooded Foothills, search up a land. It's a Taiga.
One of the advantages to Miracles is they play a lot of basics. You see that second land drop for the turn for Jarvis is a Wasteland.
Mm-hmm. If he wants to. Because he's going to try to resolve Loam. He's going to resolve Loam. I don't know if he wants to show Wasteland yet. He's not going to play it. Because he wants to maybe walk Joe into playing one.
Yeah, well, he wants to actually replay this fetch land so that he can crack it, make sure he can crack it every turn. Next turn that way he can crack Wooded Foothills, Loam it back, cast it again, crack it again.
That's what he's doing right now. Going to crack the Foothills, search up a land.
You can actually get multiple land drops out of the same Wooded Foothills with Exploration and Loam. It's kind of a neat trick.
And now we're going to dredge along. You see Jarvis's pace of play is very quick. It's mostly because of the clock. He's got to win 2 games in about 20 minutes with lands, as there's a Port, a Mana Bond, and a Thespian Stage.
Well, Jarvis has set up actually pretty well here. If you look at Joe Lossett's 75, he does not have any graveyard hate of any kind. No Grafdigger's Cage, no Rest in Peace in the 75. And that's, if your lands, you're scared of the Miracles player Rest in Peacing you. That's got to be the worst thing that can happen.
Yeah. No, this is what we kind of talked about, is that Treasure Cruise is really popular, but Rest in Peace currently just is not. So that's why you can get away with playing lands, maybe just for this weekend only. And there's a Wasteland to take care of Caracas. Sensei's Divine Top was killed via Crows and Grip. So if Joe's plan was to spin the top, that got blown up very quickly.
So let's go ahead and look at what's happening on Joe Lossett's side of the board. And, how did he keep a hand like this? It had his best weapon because it doesn't have graveyard hate. His opening hand had Island, Sensei's Divining Top, Counterbalance, Counterbalance. 2 is important here because Jarvis's answer is Crows and Grip. And then it had 2 Caracas. So it didn't have the double blue, but it is a blue mana source from having the silver bullet against Jarvis's deck, which is why Joe kept it. Now, looking back on it, it's unfortunate. Joe didn't hit the second blue source, and without that, you can see Jarvis is kind of just having his way with the game.
Well, he's starting to set up the walls of his prison. That's what he's trying to do. There's a Flooded Strand there for Lossett, but Jarvis is trying to get all set up. And if he can, it's very, very hard for Lossett to win. Lossett's going to sacrifice the Flooded Strand, figure out what land to search up here.
He may go for counterbalance, hope to hit a blind 2 on this Life from the Loam. It doesn't sound great, but it gives him an out, and before Jarvis pulls away too hard.
Number 6 on our season 4 leaderboard here is Lossett, though he has already qualified for our Players' Championship. Relic is pretty good.
Relic of Progenitus, that will hit Jarvis's yard. That is much better.
Yeah, no rest in peace, but still pretty good. Take a draw, copy of Thespian Stage. Jarvis's pace is probably going to slow down a little bit now. He's going to play a port and a stage.
Say that is a great weapon for Jarvis, though. He now will have 2 Rishadan ports, as Thespian Stage will copy 1.
Vendilion click the draw. Tundra. And counterbalance, maybe.
Now, looking at the basic land count on Joe's deck, he has 5 islands, 2 plains, 1 mountain. So Jarvis keeping him off blue, probably not happening. But porting him off all the other colors, possible.
Yep. 2 lands going to come into play. Exploration will let you play multiples. Thespian Stage Jade. Copy. A port.
Unlike some of our previous lands deck on camera, Jarvis is not running a Ghost Quarter, so he cannot land Destruction Joe off the basics. Can't be a total jerk.
Yeah, I suppose. There's another land. So lands are not much of a problem here for Joe anymore. Jarvis is going to sacrifice his Wooded Foothills, get another land out of his deck. We'll see if he wants to copy anything with the stage here too.
See that Graveyard Hate that Joe has. And originally I'd missed it because I was looking in the sideboard for Graveyard Hate, but Joe is main decking 2 Relic of Progenitus. That's his own, so I said he had no Graveyard Hate. I have to speak again. He does have 2 copies of Relic, but they're in the main.
I kind of like that, actually.
Normally you look to the sideboard when you say, hey, are they playing any Relic or any cages?
Well, I think about what happened 2 weeks ago when we were in Columbus, when Rudy Briscoe won the tournament with Jeskai Stonebladed and put that deck on the map. When we watched Lossett play, I was really interested to see if he changed anything in his deck. He was just playing his normal Miracles deck when Treasure Cruise was really starting to pick up. Grand Prix New Jersey, he's a player I was expecting to hear something about that weekend. Really didn't talk about Joe at all. Didn't have a great weekend. I was wondering, are you going to change anything about your Miracles deck? And, in Columbus, he said, no, not really. I don't feel like much of a need to. Well, clearly something's changed here because he has those Relics main deck.
Well, I think what they can do is a main deck Relic's actually a great way to fight against Treasure Cruise. It's not rest in peace level hate. You can always cycle it in the matchups where you don't care about it. But against something like Treasure Cruise, you actually can just incrementally start to whittle away their graveyard just to make their Treasure Cruises cost more.
Crozen Grip took down the Sensei's Divine Top that Joe played last turn. There were support activations on upkeep. There are going to be some more here. And you saw
3
Joe,
of them.
Yeah, you saw Joe play Vendilion Click 2. Jarvis played a Sphere of Resistance, and now there are going to be those port activations. Now Joe's just trying to get busy in the air.
Yeah,
That's all
got his
he's gonna
damage
do.
source out there. Jarvis has to do something.
Didn't get a great look at Joe's draw. Or excuse me, Jarvis's draw, though he's tapping mana, so
Yeah, it was
must be something.
I believe it was a green spell of some sort. And
Well,
that's the card
Yep.
to draw. Joe can tell a little bit of a frown there. Not what he wanted to see.
Yeah, the Loam this particular turn isn't that devastating, but it's the next turn when he gets to dredge it and maybe find his way into Dark Depths. That's where things are different.
Wasteland, Maze of Ith. There are a bunch of things that Jarvis wants to find. I don't know how many Maze of Iths he still has. There's also the issue that Jarvis could just dredge into a Punishing Fire, which would take, once that takes care of the Vendilion Click, Joe doesn't have a clock.
Yep. That's a big dredge next turn. I think Jarvis has got like 2 turns to dredge. He's under some pressure from Vendilion Click. He's going to go to 11 this turn. And then, then it's 8, then it's 5, then it's uh-oh.
You see Joe not able to do much here. He's being kept off blue mana by Jarvis's 3 Rishadan ports.
There's the attack for 3, so now he's down to 11. There's a Volk. Pass the turn back.
Joe will get to have some blue mana next turn, provided Jarvis doesn't find a wasteland. He actually doesn't find any lands.
Bad Loam. I do, so... Jarvis has the ability to maybe get a little creative with Thespian Stage. We'll see. He's got him as ports now.
You think he's going to Caracas the Vendilion Click?
Maybe. Maybe. You don't know.
Just 1 port on Volcanic Island. And lets Joe have a turn.
Looks like he's going to go after him in the draw step a little bit here. Yeah. Now it's time to figure out what's the other land.
Okay. Sides against it. Didn't play his loam for the turn, for the record, because he's playing around graveyard hate because he milled one loam.
Yep.
Doesn't want to lose them both in case Joe draws another relic. He'll just dredge the one that's in the graveyard next turn.
U is down to 8s. Lossett's trying to pull away here. Dredge again. Seismic Assault, Crop Rotation, Windswept Heath. No excitement there.
And he wants to keep Joe off double blue. At the same time, he's got to answer this Vendilion Click.
Yeah, he can just die the flyer. Pass a turn. Little surprise. There's not a loam down there. A little surprised that no cast.
Yeah, he didn't cast a loam. I agree. We'll see what Mr. U is up to here, though. Talk to him about it. He's played the deck a lot on Magic Online. Says that there's actually a lot of miracles on Magic Online.
Draw step. So Jarvis was tapped man. That's a beating. That is
depends
a beating.
where we were here. If we were in the draw step or upkeep.
So the first activation was in the upkeep, it looks like. The second one was in the draw step, and Joe's going, well, I'm going to tap mana and reveal this. Because we saw that last turn, right? We saw the first activation on the upkeep and the other two activations in the draw step. And that's what exactly is happening again now. And now all of a sudden, there are some angels in play.
Just 2 because of Sphere of Resistance.
Yep. There's an attack 4-3, push you 2-5. And now I actually think that Jarvis is forced to actually draw exactly Dark Depths.
Not certain that's enough.
Nope, that's an expiration. That's going to do it. Joe Lossett's going to win this match over Jarvis Yu, 2-0. Miracles will take down lands. And Joe, the Miracle Mastermind here on the Open Series circuit, and qualify for our play.